Hi.
Hi,
Welcome,
everybody.
welcome to Show and Tell. I'm Karen and I'm really excited for today's guest. First off, I should say you were listening to our theme music by musical genius Avi Amon. I just have to say that at every point so everybody knows he's a musical genius. But today's guest is one of my favorite people. My co-host on Indecent was here. Stacy's here. Tell the people about yourself, Stacy.
Oh gosh. Hi, I'm Stacy. I'm a member of the co-op. I host Dick Simpson Was Here and Every Rose Has Its Thorn. And uh, what I'm doing today is actually like something that I don't get to talk about that often anymore, which is a play that I studied for in different ways in both undergrad and for my graduate thesis. And that just means a whole lot to me and got me started on this whole like whirlwind path of Yiddish and Jewish theater and all kinds of things. So I'm really excited.
Awesome. All right. So let's start with the basics first. The very basic part is like the play is called The God of Vengeance by Sholem Asch. If I think I'm saying it right. Yes. Um, Written in 1906, first performed in 1907 in Germany. Can you give us, just for those who've maybe not seen it, who's not really up on their 1900s Yiddish theater, can you just give us like a quick plot, just give us the plot?
Oh, absolutely. Um, so this is a play about a man named Yankel who also runs a brothel, and the brothel is under his house. So it's also about his daughter Rivkala, who is honestly like treated pretty horribly. Her mom Sora is a former worker in the brothel, a former prostitute, and Yankel has been trying to basically buy their way into respectability to be part of their community, even though their community isn't super down with sex work. And, you know, and the way that he's doing it is he is commissioning a Torah to be used as Rivka's dowry. And this is not a thing that you do. This is just like, the Torah is not meant to be an object that you give as payment. What it's taken from is this tradition of wealthy men who don't produce sons to be scholars might fund the writing of a Torah to contribute to their community in that way. So this is a like kind of like fucked up way of doing that. But because he's horrible and abusive, he's setting her up with the rabbi's son. She's like super unhappy. She has been sneaking out the window to go downstairs into the brothel and spend time with Manka, one of the women who works and lives there. And basically they fall in love and really, truly, sweetly fall in love. They kiss in the show. They have like a really erotic conversation, like basically talking about like where Manka's talking to Rivka about touching her breasts and playing in the rain and being together. And they're like, make plans to run away together. And then it all goes to shit and they get caught. And basically at the end, Yankel casts Rivka, pushes her down the stairs and throws the Torah down the stairs, sending them into the brothel.
Did you just ruin this? Like, did you just spoil the show for everybody? Like,
yeah, I did. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I feel like 15 years is like maybe past the statute of limitations. I don't know. Spoiler moratoriums and all. But so it's written in 1906. Sholem Asch is a Yiddish playwright, and he actually took the play to one of the most famous Yiddish writers at the time, Peretz, Jan Lovett Peretz. and he was told to burn the play. And it very specifically is people were scandalized by how the Torah was treated in this play. There were some people who were like moderately unhappy about women falling in love, but really and truly, the controversy was over the Torah, and that the way that this play was operating was profaning what is sacred.
Now, I have other like personal questions for you, but since we're on this particular topic right here, there are certain plays that we look at and we're like, oh, this is a thing that has elevated the form, even if it doesn't look like it at the time, or this is the thing that like moved us in a different direction. Like every year people bring up like RUR because like it's the first thing that had robots in it. Would the God of Vengeance be classified as something like that? Were there other plays that were like this, or was this breaking form?
I don't know if the play, I mean, what it was talking about was scandalous, but I don't think that the way that it broke form truly happened until, I would say, 1923. Like, it was a controversial piece of literature, but it also got so it also opened on the Lower East Side in 1907. Part of like this massive Yiddish theater culture that was was a big fucking deal in 1907. To like Jews go to Yiddish plays. It costs very little money. It's like very much the like, you think about like those scenes from like Shakespeare in Love or whatever, where you have like the masses being able to afford the cheap standing room seats and bring rotten food. Like, this is the kind of thing that was happening too, because this is the cheapest form of entertainment. And when it opens then, I had tried to find articles about this. I couldn't. I've found people who wrote about some of these reviews, but there are some pretty good reviews. There's also some controversial reviews. Like, for the most part, they're focusing on the Torah. Some of them are like, why do they kiss? But other than that, like, it's like partly because in like super traditional Jewish religious settings, you have like a very strict separation along a gender binary. Outside of your household, your family, like, you're not supposed to be interacting. But so there is the potential for much more intimate friendships and relationships between two women, but like also, no, I mean, like they're gay. They are canonically gay, or they are canonically in love with each other and having sex. So
it's going steady.
Yeah. And so basically, like, this gets performed in a lot of different places. The play really takes off. It gets performed in basically like anywhere that there's Yiddish theater. So Germany was first, but there's also, I have a picture in there, and I'm sorry, unless you know Yiddish, you won't be able to tell the difference, but there's a picture in there from an ad for a production in Buenos Aires. And there are all kinds of like really cool things happening. And this man, Rudolf Schildekraut, ends up being Yankel in a lot of things. He is a famous Yiddish actor, and he is someone who is starting to bridge from Yiddish theater into English theater and into American theater. So this is when we get to 1917, when Isaac Goldberg translates the first version of this. So Gott von Nakoma becomes God of Vengeance. It's a direct translation, and this play eventually makes its way in 1922 to the Provincetown Playhouse.
No, I've done my dramaturgical research by watching Indecent, so and reading Wikipedia. So I'm basically like the same as you with your degrees.
Okay, yeah.
So, but this is at this point, how close is that English translation? I know that it changes
So,
later. This is it now.
so for the Provincetown Playhouse, so it is there are a good handful of different translations out there of the play now. And this 1917 translation would not be the one that I'd recommend to people. It's a pretty literal translation, though. It doesn't do a great job of capturing any of like the artistry of the language. It's like the play is just a lot prettier in Yiddish than this version, but things aren't cut out yet.
Okay.
For the most part, it is pretty literally what was intended to happen.
Now, do you speak Yiddish or read Yiddish?
A little bit, yeah. I was able to. My Yiddish is awful now. Like the last time I took a course was 2015, and I graduated in 2016 and haven't done anything with it since I finished my master's.
Oh, I feel like you should know I've been judging your Yiddish since I met you.
Okay.
Yes.
But I could, like, I can read these ads and do enough research, and my thesis advisor actually was born in Borough Park and is a native Yiddish speaker. So
nice.
she helped me a lot with like some of the longer form articles, which I'll talk about. But basically, I do know enough Yiddish to give like a little bit of an opinion on this, and to have retranslated specific sentences when I wanted to.
No. What exactly, like, what drew you to this piece? Like, you could have chosen, like, there are a lot of plays out there. I don't know if you knew this, but there's a lot of plays out there. But this is the one that you chose for not only your undergrad, but your grad thesis.
Oh, yeah. So it got started with, I was reading a book on queer theater, like historically queer theater, by Elisa Solomon, who's a professor at Columbia. And it's taught in the book. This was there's an entire chapter on queer Jewish theater. And she talked about this play, and I was like, what's going on here? I need to read this. And I kept reading and I kept reading, and eventually ended up spending a summer doing a Yiddish language intensive at the Yiddish Book Center, I went to school in Amherst, Massachusetts, and the National Yiddish Book Center was on our campus. So it's serendipitous. I was bussing tables at night and studying Yiddish during the day and doing pretty much nothing else.
That's cool. So, just a side question. So when you say that there was this whole chapter on queer Jewish theater, like, were there other shows at the time that were
not so much at the time, though there's a lot to be talking about with gender and the way that people perceived what was proper behavior in American culture versus Jewish culture. But no, most of the other things focused on later. This was kind of the first example, but what's really notable is that 1922 production transferred to Broadway in 1923, and this is the first Yiddish play to be on Broadway. So I'll get to what changed for production in a second, but as a contrast, so this is also the same time A.B.'s Irish Rose is playing and premiering. Mm-hmm. And at the time, A.B.'s Irish Rose was the longest running show on Broadway for years and years and years. And it is a show about a Jewish boy who during World War I meets a Catholic nurse, and they secretly get married, and they return home to the United States, and hijinks ensue because their families don't know they're married, and they need to have a Jewish wedding and a Catholic wedding to make their families separately happy. And the way that it gets resolved in the end is they actually have a Protestant wedding. And eat Christmas ham together.
Oh, God. I'm sure everybody's mother was happy with.
But this is the most popular play because it's very much like saying like, oh, you white ethnic immigrants, you too can be American if you just eat the Christmas ham. And it directly in contrast with this play that is going up on Broadway about Jews owning brothels.
So,
yeah. So when the play went up, they made them basically take as much gay stuff out of it as they could. The women still like spend time together. But our producer Jenna is booing. But they took out the kiss and they took out the like most romantic scenes. I don't know exactly how much of that was in the Provincetown production, because I don't know the difference between that and the translated script that I can read. But they took out a lot to go to Broadway. But what was happening was that there is a community of fairly like wealthy or well-off, much more assimilated German Reform Jews that live on the Upper West Side. And they had come 1 or 2 generations earlier than the bulk of the Lower East Side Jewish immigrants, and therefore had more to lose with not seeming American. So it was this community, the rabbi of the biggest community was the one who got the censorship police to shut down the Broadway production of God of Vengeance.
Now, before the shutdown, what was the reception like of the play?
So, I mean, it basically got shut down on opening night. So, so what I have here, these Yiddish ads here are actually, so one of them, I think the first one that was up originally is an ad for the play in Yiddish. Okay. And it's talking about, I had the translation in front of me. I don't have the picture in front of me. It's fine. Basically talking about how the play is phenomenal and talking about how like playing up these like brief platitudes, the kind of things that you would see in any kind of ad today. And then if you look at the English language thing that's that's advertising the play at Provincetown Playhouse, you get almost no information in it. It's just a very quick, this is a play, go see it. So
you'll see it, we'll lock the doors, you're gonna love it.
There's already that. Oh my God, Gritty, stop it.
So I'm sure you've heard me speak before about respectability politics and like my feelings about them in general. It feels like there's like a really heavy like blanket of respectability politics.
Oh yeah, there absolutely is. And that's basically actually what I did. That's actually what I did my master's thesis on. So like my undergrad thesis was like, oh cool, there are queer things in Jewish culture. Isn't this fun? And like looking at what that meant. But my master's thesis was actually on basically mapping, I said, the Americanization of Jewish identity through theater and gendered representation in theater. And it very much is a matter of respectability politics and figuring out how to conform to that white Anglo-Saxon Protestant ideal of gender and day-to-day presentation to be able to be seen as respectable Americans.
Now, before we go too far down that path, because we are going to talk about Indecent, and I feel like that kind of all comes together. Have you read other pieces by Sholem Asch?
So I have not read as much by him, but the other big the other most famous thing that he did is a trilogy called the Nazarene. He wrote Yiddish novels about Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah. Dude liked to fuck around. He liked to piss people off. I can respect it. When the play first got shut down in 1923, the first thing he wrote was this scathing editorial to the Forward, the Jewish Daily Forwards. Hey, stop it, Gritty. Oh my God, my cat is trying to eat me.
That's how you know love.
That hurts, and you need to stop. Okay, so he wrote it, and it says a brief von an Antisemite. So a letter from an anti-Semite. He wrote this in being like, you think that my play is Jewish man, and I am not anti-Semitic. And it's like very much guns blazing, but this is also in Yiddish. So you can be a little bit more guns blazing in the language that not everybody speaks or reads. Gritty, stop it. What are you doing?
So he's got, that's what I wanted to ask. So in his depiction of Manka and Ivelka, I think it's Rivka. Rivka. The bits and pieces that Indecent show very lyrical, very beautiful piece of writing. Writing for women, men writing for women, not always beautiful. How would you say that his writing?
So actually, what you saw in Indecent, particularly when you saw things in Yiddish, but that scene that kept getting repeated throughout Indecent is in the play.
Oh.
That like beautiful love scene where they're in the rain talking about falling in love and touching each other. That is what is in the play.
So would you say that is like a big characteristic of his writing in general? That passage is very beautiful. It's really lyrical.
I don't know if I would say that. I could say that about him, but I would say that is what draws people to this play. And that this play is, I mean, like anything, imperfect, but that this like scene is just like, it is something that has endured with people and has endured with scholars who think about this play and think about everything that went along with it, because it is beautiful. The scene between them is absolutely beautiful, and also like very much like as a part of like any culture, queer history in theater, like it is like a very blatant, beautiful depiction of women falling in love. Yeah. And yes, it ends badly for them because, I mean, that's like every piece of queer media for the next 80 years.
So in like them being like thrown, being like thrown down the stairs into the brothel, like what is the and I guess I'm curious as to, I guess this is even the right question, but like what is the message of that?
Oh, so I mean, this is where it's very melodramatic. This is where it's like pretty blatant, hit you over the head in the writing. Take this with you. He throws the toy, take this with you. I don't need it anymore.
Now, I know that he wrote this letter. This is not all Jews. This is his thing. Like, this is not endemic of all of us. This is just a picture of these people, is what I'm getting from his letter.
Mm-hmm. And also, fuck you for shutting down art.
Always. Fuck you. But I guess then that's the answer. Then it's like that this particular person is an awful person. But it is not endemic of everybody.
Well, it's also actually but it is partly, and this is something that does show up in his other writing, is condemning religious hypocrisy. So it's saying you are trying so hard to seem pious and seem respectable, and instead you are hurting people, and these people that you are judging as not being respectable and not being worthy are the most loving people here.
Now, how would you say, or would you say, that the play itself has had an impact now?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's hard for me to say because I live in this like very weird little bubble of, not that there are a lot of queer within the world of people who study Yiddish theater. There are a lot of queer people, but like there are the world of secular people who study Yiddish theater is not like that huge. I know, shocking. Like, so it's hard to say because I'm like very engrossed in this world, and it's not, this is one of, if this is what you're interested in, this is one of the first plays that you would learn, or an earlier play that you would learn.
Okay.
But I think it had a bigger impact on what kinds of things did end up getting produced for the next many years about Jews by Jews, in that the big things that came out were not as risky for a very long time.
Oh.
I would say, like, there is a lot of stuff for a while where you have Jewish characters or coded Jewish characters, and they might be comedic, but they're not often, if it's written by Jewish people, they're not often negative characters. Like, you still have like anti-Semitic villainry tropes, particularly in like British literature, and like look at any like Dickens, whatever. But side note, if you like, I do love Oliver and whatnot, but you read the book and Fagin is literally called the Jew, and his nose is described. So like,
I would say there's a lot of literature from like that, especially like that time period and before, that like there are people called the Jew, and I'm like, I don't know if you can be the Jew if everybody's the Jew. I mean, honestly, you gotta choose. Like, you can't all be.
Oh yeah. Which is why I also tell people, like, only Jewish people can use that word. I mean, like, as a descriptor, obviously, like, this conversation is fine. It's not a slur. It's just been used so derisively that it's like you can't, don't use that to describe a person, because usually it makes you sound like Charles Dickens.
I mean, I feel like we've got other descriptors you could possibly use: tall, short, dark hair, curly hair, you know.
Oh yeah. Also, like, you want to say a Jewish person instead of the Jew.
You know, the one.
But yeah, I think that, you know, the play continued to be performed. There's a production from, I think, the 30s, maybe the late 40s in London that you can track down. And like, it definitely like continued to exist in public. Sorry, 1 second. Gritty. Sorry. No. You did not get that.
Right now, we're just gonna look at the unicorn.
But he stole a box of pasta.
I mean, you get hungry, and the carbs. Sometimes you just need carbs.
Does he want the carbs, or does he want the box? It's really hard to tell, but I found his head in the box of pasta about 6 or 7 feet away from where it originally was. What do you have there?
I mean, maybe the box is carbs.
I mean, he does cardboard.
Maybe he's low on fiber, and he's just like, I need to be more regular. Here it is.
So to what you're saying, obviously this play has spoken to people like pretty deeply. And before we get to Indecent, I have other things to talk about, but we have kind of like at least within this small community of people or people like really interested in Yiddish theater, it becomes something to dive deeper into. So we get later translations, better translations later on. And then we get Donald Margulies writes an adaptation of the play.
Really?
And this play, the Donald Margulies version is pretty true to storyline, with some exceptions, and also for like story flow, and it just make things a little bit smoother. But he moves it to 1923 on the Lower East Side. So you then get commentary on like being an immigrant and all these things that we were talking about that were coming into play with reception of the productions.
So, just between you, me, and the internet, what do you think of the Donald Margulies version?
I like it. That's what I ended up putting on with my senior year undergrad thesis, in part because I wasn't sure if audiences would receive a translation of a Yiddish play in the same way that they would receive a play written for American audiences, which was like a conversation. But, and I don't know if I would choose to do it that way now, but when I was 21, it made sense to me.
Right.
I think it's good. Having since seen Indecent, which at the time was being written in New Haven. It was The People versus the God of Vengeance. And it's not different. It's like, this is the Donald Margulies version is a pretty like direct adaptation to slightly more like Americanized theater structure and setting. It is not like revolutionarily different.
I just personally, I often find some of his stuff to be very cozy, and so
yeah. It ends. So yeah, actually, the big thing, he does change the ending a little bit. So Yankel still throws Rivka out, but she is seen running away with Manka at the end. So he gives them their happy ending.
Yeah. But I want to make sure that we cover everything that you want to cover before we get to the yes.
And then I put in some pictures of that production I did in 2011. Which note the costuming is 1923 and not 1907 because of the setting.
Gotcha.
But
women, right? Women
yeah.
is one, another, yeah.
Oh wait, that is so, and then this shot of the lamppost at the end, we were just college theater students, and we were really happy to have that tableau and did it. Basically. Honestly. If I'm being really honest, we were like, this looks so cool. No.
Very artsy, yes. All right. So,
okay.
Yeah.
The cat is really trying to attack this pasta.
I feel like you should just let it go.
You're pasta, though. Is there something I can put pasta? Oh, wait. I have an empty thing.
Okay. The box.
Sorry, everybody. You're dirty. Take it.
Just like I'm out. So.
You have a box. You can't have the pasta, but you can have the box. Oh, he wanted the pasta.
Oh, carbs. I get it. It's been kind of shady. One, but
He like sniffed at the box and he rejected it. Whoa, great. Anyway.
Okay.
So we get to before actually like 2017 was a great year for this play because it had a fully Yiddish language production at the New Yiddish Rep in early 2017.
Yeah.
Which was great. And I got to go see it and I loved it. And got to take my mom to it, which was really cool. And later that year, Paula Vogel's Indecent premiered on Broadway. And Indecent is this like really beautiful, non-linear narrative about Sholem Ash, about productions of God of Vengeance, and about the characters themselves. And like, just, I don't want to like, I don't know how to even like fully do it justice. I've taken classes on how to succinctly summarize plays. And
I would say that it is deeply theatrical, first off. And it is a good use of dramaturgy.
Yes.
It is literally like I when I put up my my little thing about like, oh, Indecent is, the play that God of Vengeance is, blah, blah, blah. The idea of what it is should not be interesting because you're basically studying the production history of this play.
I mean, it's like, I don't even know how to like describe how like revelatory this play was for me because it felt like it was, I mean, if almost like one of those things, when something feels like it's written for you. Like, I have studied this play for so long. I studied dramaturgy in undergrad. It talks about, I mean, like there is a scene where the actress playing Rivka talks about being queer and getting to come out and being herself and getting to be herself express herself in her native language in Yiddish and express herself as a queer person in public in Yiddish, and how incredible that has been. And like, it is just like, I'm getting emotional talking about it. Oh my God, I'm getting the chills. Just like, it is honestly like astonishing. And
I watched it. I told you I watched it today because it's like I should be prepared. So I watched it today, and I should have watched it yesterday because I bawled.
Yeah, I would have. I'm sorry. I should have warned you. I
was warned. That's the problem. I was warned. I was like, it'll be all right. I'll just watch it right before. Just tears, and I think it hit especially hard this year because I am a theater person. I make theater. I perform in theater. I grew up in theater. I've been doing theater since I was 8. And this year, with there being no theater and this being so theatrical, and like, yes, there are the things that Paula Vogel weaves into this. One of them is the power of theater.
Yeah. Without giving away the ending just because it's beautiful and heartbreaking, there is a lot of talk about performing under less than ideal conditions, both for the sake of the performers and the audience, and that performance and getting to be making theater or participating in theater in some way is this true expression of controlling your life and getting to have that agency and express yourself and be yourself.
It's also the discussion of being a model minority, which is also really timely right now.
Yeah.
So timely, just like this idea that we have to show white supremacist culture that we are worthy of their care, that we are worthy, and we cannot show the dark side of what we are because then we're not enough.
And that is basically what the arc my master's thesis took, where I was like, you have this show and then contrast it with AB's Irish Rose, and I can talk about other similar things from that time, but basically like the good Jews become Protestants or whatever.
Mhm.
Maybe not always that extreme, but they like, you don't know that they're Jewish. And then talked about how like the next era of Jewish representation, I talked about Fiddler and Funny Girl.
Oh, what was the other one? I heard Fiddler, but what was the other one?
Funny Girl.
Oh, yeah.
And that is like this next, it's like a look at how ethnic we used to be. We can be good assimilated Americans, but we're still like a little different, but not that different. Don't worry too much.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what both shows say in different ways. Like it is like, you know, Fanny Brice can still be famous even though her nose is too big. And Tevye, it's fine that he's so traditional because he realizes that loving his daughters is the most important thing.
Right.
And then I took it to talking about Angels in America as like what it takes to now be allowed to show Jews not necessarily in a positive light. And what that took through history.
Oh yeah.
And I could talk about Angels in America forever and ever, probably, honestly. And I'm sure which could be another episode.
I am never gonna say no to discussing theater.
I mean, I don't want to start on it now because I would go on for too long, but like, anyway.
I think it's like for me, a lot of it, like a lot of the production elements of it spoke to me in making the ideas like tangible, like the ashes,
right.
of like the blinks, for some reason the blink in time always like sat with me in just the right way, even though it's just like such a small thing that you're just allowing like the passage of time of just stop and a blink in time.
Yeah.
And then on, and I'm like, that's beautiful.
I mean, it's also like it's a really cool show. It's done with it's a small ensemble. Everyone basically plays their analogous roles as different characters in different historical moments.
But which really makes sense in terms of like dramaturgy when you're looking at older theater and people playing archetypes. It was such a beautiful way to do it. I don't know who the dramaturg was on that show. I know who the director was Rebecca Tashman was the director, who's amazing.
Right. I was gonna say if I had like 3 minutes, I would go grab it off my shelf, but I'm not gonna go do that right now. I like bound copy of it.
But you can tell me later because I would really want to know.
Yeah, totally.
I am a huge fan of dramaturgy in theater, and I personally, this is a personal opinion, take it for what you will, I actually think that it often makes good shows better. I talk about Mr. Burns a lot because I feel like that was a very great use of dramaturgy, and as well as this. Just how do you marry the information without it feeling like a book report?
Oh, I would agree with you, and I was deciding between academia and getting an MFA in dramaturgy sometime in 2011, 2012, and turned down interviews for an artistic direction apprenticeship, because I mean, for a job that with an AmeriCorps position where I could actually defer my loans and make more money. Which like sometimes I look back on and I'm sad about, and other times I'm like, this makes sense. But like it could have, like it was like a very serious consideration for me at one point. And like that is absolutely the path I would have gone down.
I have nothing but respect for dramaturgs. Just not like then they work hard and they're not necessarily as respected as I think they should be. But that's personal opinions. But it's also my show. So
yeah, I mean, I also got really interested in the idea of translation versus adaptation and the way that translation impacts a show so deeply and how difficult it is. And I mean, this is all dramaturgy still. And like, there is no, it's, everybody here has probably put a sentence through Google Translate and seen how fucked up it gets, right? And that's, how do you balance accurate translation and maintaining the rhythm and poetry of something? So this is where, when Karen was asking me earlier about the 1917 script, I feel like it's a pretty literal translation, but it means that you lose some of the beauty of it. And like, what I think is really cool about Indecent is that the scenes that are in Yiddish, you still feel the power and beauty of the words, even if you don't understand any of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that you can get into what it takes to do that, but like, the goal of a good translation is to maintain both the literal understanding, but also the feeling that you get from it.
You really have to understand a language and the way that the language works, as well as like how it moves through a body to be able to translate and keep that. It is like Pasternak, I think, is the translator who does most of the work for Shakespeare in a lot of like
Yeah.
countries. And it comes off a little differently. Not to say that I wouldn't say it's like a bad translation, but it does come up. Pasternak comes off a lot differently than just like looking at it. It's like, this is not how I remember Richard III.
Actually, like that is making, so in the Donald Margulies version, there is a scene where the uncle is trying to show off Rivka and asks her to sing. And in his script, he just writes, she sings a Yiddish lullaby.
Yeah.
And this is like, I'll use this as a good dramaturgical moment. So I chose this song that's a poem by Itzik Manger, often vague, Shittableim. It's about a little bird who wants to leave the nest, but his mom won't let him. Mm-hmm. And like, it's really beautiful and haunting. It's like, often weg steht der Bäum, steht rein gebeugen, alle Vögel auf den Bäumen. Okay, I'm gonna stop singing. Okay, great. I get it. But like, it's like, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I am actually like proud of how, like, it's not necessarily, it doesn't need to be subtle. It just like is this is a moment where you can get this beautiful, haunting song that is like expressing similar emotions. Like the bird is like, maybe one day I'll get to be a bird and fly away. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that he is saying about his mom in this poem.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'd also like to point out, even though everyone can't see, that currently Gritty is on a lap, and then Woo is also on Jenna's lap, our producer Jenna's lap, and I feel as if I should go grab it, but
Gritty is not on my lap. Gritty is planting himself directly in front of the monitor, so I can't really see you.
I mean, it's fine. You just speak through Gritty. It's fine. So,
do you want to meow? You're right next to the microphone.
Gritty would like you to know that he is not your circus animal and will not be performing on cue. So
clearly, he has made that very clear.
Also, you gave him pasta, so I'm not sure what it is you're expecting from him. So, it's just rude. So rude. You want to sleep sometime. I just want you to know, and Gritty is in that apartment. All right, so we have just a few more minutes before we get to the things, because I'm really good. I'm being really good this week, and I'm not going to forget the things. I'm going to give them proper time.
I gave him a noodle. I gave him,
Good.
it's brown rice pasta. He'll be fine. And he's chomping on it.
It's Friday. Honestly, it's Friday. Get the carbs on Friday. When are you going to get them? All right. So, what have we not covered? Because this is a massive. I think it's a huge topic. I think there's a lot to cover. What have we not covered that you're just like, I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking I can't get back to sleep because we didn't do that.
Can't get back to sleep. Well, I think that without getting too far down a rabbit hole of how many different interpretations of this there are, I do want to encourage people to seek out productions where they can. You can watch Indecent on Broadway.
It's BroadwayHD.com.
BroadwayHD.com.
So I will tell you, I had a free membership like earlier on the pandemic, and then I let it lapse because I was like, whatever. But then I got a trial this week for 10 days. But I think it's actually worth having in terms, it's like $8.99 a month, but you can also do the free trial for like 10 days and watch Indecent and go on about your business. But in general, I think, especially because we're at a dearth right now, $8.99 a month to watch so many plays is not the
like, so it was filmed for PBS's greatest
not great performances.
Great performances. Thank you. So it is like a professionally filmed. It is not on like the scale of what you saw for Hamilton if you watch that, but like nothing is. And it
doesn't look like your mom came with her camera.
Right. It is a very well done filming of a theatrical production. It is very worth watching. I also sent this to Karen. I discovered a production that is happening on Zoom this weekend, which I am now super excited to check out. And it's just follow those. It's really cool to be able to follow those threads to these modern interpretations and this art that is being made more currently. And I really encourage you, whether or not it's this play or something else, to follow the threads of something like that to more recent art and theater or movies or something, because understanding like the history of the references of something will make you feel so much more deeply connected to something that is being put out now. And just like, I think it's a really wonderful experience.
So not to get down this rabbit hole, but what you're saying, I think also relates to our public domain laws. The mere fact that they were able to be 2 productions in 2017 is because God of Vengeance is in the public domain. So when Paula Vogel looks at it, or Donald Margulies looks at it, or there's a company that's like, hey, we want to put on this show and we want something that also speaks to now but is an older piece, they can do that because they are not hampered by certain corporations, we won't name names, pushing our public domain laws past the point where they're supposed to be. So every year we have Public Domain Day, which for some reason is escaping my brain on the day right now, but when new things are released into the public conscience. And if you are someone who's interested in making things, I think that it is worth it to actually look through those public domain pieces and see if there's something that you want to mess with, you want to look at, you want to look at like how you can expand it and move it forward into the future. So yeah. So let's get into. Thank you. February. Such a January. Oh, that's right. Because January 1st.
I wish you could see what his eyes look like when I hold this pasta above his head.
I'm pretty sure it looks like my eyes when I see red velvet cake.
He's like,
I really cannot see anything in the chat, so I'm sorry if I'm not answering anyone. I can't see anything.
I Ow, ow, Brittany, that hurts. I will give you a treat after we get off of this. Come on.
All right. So it is 8:55, so I'm gonna do the things.
Okay.
I wrote them down this week, so don't forget them. So after this, after you're done here, you go get you like a little snack, get some water, but be back. Because at 10 o'clock is big time. And their guest this week, Dara and Ashley's guest is fat kid athlete Alex, who it would be great for you to come and see. Alex, I believe, also hosts Wine and Dynasty, if I'm correct.
They are one of the co-hosts for Wine and Dynasty.
Yes. So then on Saturday, we've got theater games with Maddie at 7 in Maddie has Miriam Pultro on as their guest. So I hear awesome things about that, mostly because I follow on Slack, on the group Slack, and I pay attention. Then at 9 is Trollopsism. I'm not quite sure what they're covering this week, but I've never been disappointed in Trollopsism, so I can say that you will probably be thrilled at 9 o'clock on Saturday. Then on Sunday, now, normally on Sunday, Dara has the miscellaneous pop culture show. She covered like Muppets and so on and so on. But this week is different. This week is a roundtable. We are discussing WandaVision. And when I say we, I mean me. I mean Stacy. I mean Dara. I mean Alex. And some other, like I think Maddie is also going to be there. There's a bunch of people that's going to be there. It's going to be wild. There is a good chance there will be a fight. But it's on Zoom, so it won't be physical. It'll probably be nasty though, and names will probably be called.
I can get like fucking nerdy. Shocking, I know, but I have been like doing like some deep dives into this show, and I've thought about it so much, and now I'm watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and like I'm very happy that we're doing it this week because I need to slightly move on from WandaVision and focus on this other show for the sake of my sanity.
WandaVision Sunday at 5 here on Twitch. You will not be disappointed. You can also talk to us in the chat. They will do a better job than I am. And it will be exciting. I highly suggest that you binge it and be with us. Am I forgetting anything? Oh, Stacey, tell the people where they can find you.
Oh, yes. You can find me at Stackselrod. It's at STAKSELROD on pretty much any platform that's TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter. You can also find me on currently any given Thursday night talking about different things. Since the finale of The Bachelor was this past week, EJ and I are going to be doing a rewatch of Caitlin Bristow's Bachelorette season. What?
Your last name Briscoe? What's the last name of
Bristow?
Oh.
With me. I know. Sorry, not the same. But it should be fun. She talk about like how far we've come with sex positivity since Caitlin Bristow had sex outside of the fantasy suites. And also just enjoy kind of like lighter, more trashy, classic Bachelorette season. And then also on Thursdays, come find me and Karen talking about Schitt's Creek. This week, we are hosting a costume contest. So please come submit submit some photos because we want to judge the fuck out of you. There's also prizes, and we're like nice judgy people, not like Statler and Waldorf, but like actually, if we're gonna make fun of you, it's gonna actually be funny and not too mean.
I'm also a raging bitch.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna be nice. I'm just saying it's not gonna be mean for the sake of being mean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be funny, like Schitt's Creek style humor.
Oh yeah, cool. Yes, we're giving. If you're 21 and over, we are giving away fruit wine. God help you.
And if you're not 21, we will get you a
for your dirty
some soap from the Rose Apothecary.
Yes. You can also follow Pop Culture Co-op on all the things. Just go to Pop Culture Co-op. Twitter, Facebook. I think we have TikTok. I know we have YouTube.
Yeah, we do have a TikTok.
We have a TikTok. Just so you know, though, you can follow me at Karen Trinice, KaaronTrinice, or the Show and Tell PPC on Instagram. I will tell you, as I say every 2 weeks, you can follow me on Twitter, but that's just a shit show for you because nothing is happening there. I barely go to Facebook, and TikTok is just a thing that happens when I see other people doing it. So just for your best bet, just go to Instagram. It's for your best, it's for the best. I think we've done all the things. All the things. Good. See, we can do the things.
Okay.
All right.
Gritty is trying to eat me.
Gritty's gonna eat Stacy, and I'm gonna watch. So thank you so much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Jenna.